In 2016, the world was greeted with the sight and excitement of a giant black cat suddenly appearing during a harrowing chase scene that began with Steve Rogers, or Captain America, trying to catch his best friend Bucky Barnes, or the Winter Soldier. The two pursuing parties may have had different reasons, but both were after the same thing, Bucky. Both believing the same thing, Bucky just bombed a UN conference, which killed King T'Chaka of Wakanda. This death results in the mantle of king being passed down to the now grieving son, Prince T'Challa, along with the mantle of the giant black cat, or Black Panther. Though we see T'Challa struck with his grief, we also see a vengeful, angry hero determined to catch and punish his father's killer. We also get to see what sets him apart from many others in his ability to pause, reassess the situation, and determine the best course of action as a true leader would. When he is finally face to face with the true killer, T'Challa decides to no longer let vengeance consume him, sparing the person's life and allowing justice to run its course. We later get to see more of Chadwick Boseman's masterful portrayal of King T'Challa in the legendary MCU installment and 2018 release, Black Panther. We are taken deep into Wakanda to learn more of the reclusive nation's secrets, but those aren't the only secrets we learn. T'Challa is soon face to face with the mistakes and decisions that his father made as king and Black Panther many years ago. Mistakes that left Eric Killmonger an orphan after the death of his father by T'Chaka's hands, or claws. Killmonger, or N'Jaka, becomes a lesson in what happens when one allows theirself to become consumed by vengeance and flips Wakanda on its head, leaving countless dead in his wake. T'Challa, again, must wrestle with his own identity and the identity of the country he calls home in order to stop Killmonger and regain the throne. A masterpiece that takes audiences through emotional and developmental journeys, and one of the few movies where one can't truly call anyone a villain, but at best the antagonist, as it's sometimes difficult to not at least understand the pain and the grief and abandonment N'Jaka or Killmonger felt. With the new release of the second installment, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, fans will perhaps see a country, a family, a world, and how it is impacted by the loss of an iconic king, just as the real world was impacted by the loss of an iconic performer and incredible soul. With the movie just released in theaters, we don't want to reveal and spoil the full details of the plot, but do want to share these new releases from Hasbro. The return of favorites, Okoye, Nakia, and Ross, a comic version of the Black Panther, as well as a representation of the comics Hatut Zeraze, a group of Wakandan secret police, and introducing to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Namor. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collects. I'll be posting a new video at least twice a week, if not more, and if that sounds of interest to you, please click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. In this episode, we are taking a closer look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends 6-inch scale Wakanda Forever Attuma Build-A-Figure line. Alright everyone, welcome back, and dare I take a moment and say, squad goals? I don't know, but this is a screen full of figures and I am very excited to start digging into them. So here we go, here's the full spread. Likely we're going to be able to see very similar backs to all these, so we'll be able to go through that very quickly. But let's line them up and get them all off the table and start somewhere, right? I'm very excited to dig into these, and they are all for that Attuma Build-A-Figure, and you know, no favoritism going on here, but we are going to start with Nakia, right? So this is the Black Panther Wakanda Forever version. Very cool suit. And if you have not seen the movie yet, definitely check it out. It is an absolutely beautiful story. Some amazing performances in that movie. Let's start on the back here. And here we have our rendering of Nakia back here. Looks like we've got some pretty cool stuff coming with her. Those round weapons that we're kind of used to her using, that she throws very well. Looks like we've got two different heads, maybe one with a helmet, one without. Attuma's body, a character clearly from the movie. It looks like we've got, perhaps he's one of one of Namor's people, maybe? I don't know. Very cool looking character, though. But there on the side, we can see how it's separated, and we have the whited out number to show what comes in this box and what character that was. Over here on the side, a nice drawing of Nakia, right? Lupita Nyong'o. I don't want to absolutely butcher the name unless I already did right there. But there we go. And then on the front, of course, this is windowless packaging, so we have yet another render of the character holding her weapons. Very large weapons. All right. So let's bust into it, right? Because we have a lot to go through, and I don't want to make you have a video that's 6 hours long. So let's bust into this box, and we'll move very quickly with that Black Panther logo on the top. You got to take a moment and appreciate that. And let's pull it out, and not immediately do we find the pamphlet, but I feel it. It's right there at my fingertips, ready to be pulled out. So there we go, yet another one for the collection. I'll have to start counting these up. Here's one bag of accessory treats in there, and that looks like the only one, aside from the bag, that clearly is our figure in this cardboard. So I do like to be a little bit more gentle. I like to pull the cardboard to the side and just kind of fish it out that way. Okay, so we can move cardboard, see nothing else in there. So nothing else particular to look for besides two bags, one holding the figure. Okay, so let's open up this main accessory bag and see what we have. Okay, let's just dump it on the table in case there's any small parts. Always a little weird pulling a torso out, right? A missing limbs and missing head. We're going to set Attuma pieces to the side as we usually do so we can assemble them at the end when we have everything ready to go. But first and foremost, let's start with these Nakia accessories that we have here. Okay, so focus. Let's see if it'll work for me here. There we go. Now here is the secondary wrist, right? These are both the same style, ready to grip those weapons. So I'm guessing she may either have fists or maybe an open palm already included on there. We'll put one to the side since they're very similar, and just kind of look at the detail of this. So very cool. Got the blue paint apps in almost like an angle, like a chevron type style. Very cool in there, and you know, no real issues immediately to be seen with these paint apps. Again, not entirely familiar with how it's all supposed to lay out, but nothing immediately stands out. It almost looks like maybe a line is intended to continue down there. Do you see that where it stays a little bit green? But you know, at least on the top of the hand, which is what's most going to be commonly visible, everything's looking pretty good, and then we've got some good detail on there. I appreciate how they separated the fingers right there, so it gives a little bit more flexibility, and also makes it look a little bit more real. Like when we grip something, it's never evenly gripped, right? Fingers just kind of travel in their own ways, and this one, she is certainly ready for it. It almost looks like it's her method of gripping it to have a better control of throwing. But very cool, but ultimately it does provide more flexibility when we're opening it up to grip, and then we can already see what we're dealing with wrist flexibility there, so we'll look for that when we're going through Nakia, the figure herself. And here is one of the weapons, right? Both identical, very similar, right? No paint apps on these. These are cast in a flexible green plastic, so that is very good when posing or putting into the hand, because it does give that little bit of leeway when trying to wrap the hand around it, which also has a little bit of give. So it's nice to see that, right? You don't have to worry too much about damage. No paint apps. The typical thing I'm going to say is it would always be good to have it on there. It would never hurt, right? To bring out some of those extra details, maybe another shade of green. But I can't complain. It's a very cool looking weapon, right? And I do like the little scaly features on it there. Because clearly it seems like we've got a nice nautical type theme going on here. And then here is the alternate head. So I'm guessing she has the helmeted head on the figure. And look at that likeness. Just amazing what they're able to do with these days, right? The hair, look at the texture on this hair. Okay, yeah, focus is working for me. Look at all these individual braids going on in here with a little bit of red highlights to it, and just fantastic. The paint apps on this, nothing stands out as any kind of issue. One thing I can see is there's an odd line around the edge of the forehead right here. I don't know if that's adhesive for the hair being attached to the face, or if it's something from the printing of the face, but there is that strange line right there. Hopefully that's not common across all of them. Hopefully it's just an aberration on mine, and there seems to be a little bit of plastic, maybe deformation right there, but nothing as far as the face likeness, that printing, just a fantastic job. It looks very much like the character, very much like the actress. So very well done, and I appreciate the little bit of gold highlight there for the bit of gold in the hair. So very well done. No major issues stand out aside from that line across there. But I'm seeing, you know, maybe it's something that can come off with a little bit of effort. But enough about that. Let's dig into the figure, right? So let's not take 20 years on each of them. Wow, look at this thing. Okay, so immediately coming out, oh, sorry, I just knocked the head onto the floor. Immediately coming out of the package, it has quite a shine to it. Can you see that? I mean, it definitely has they all have a reflection of my lights coming back, but there is a metallic shine to this costume. The green, it definitely has an amazing pop to it. So all the more kind of indicating that there's a very aquatic theme going on to this one. So very cool, which would make sense, right? If we've got Namor in the movie. But yeah, so let's take a closer look. All right, so here we go. Here's the helmeted head, and that is really neat, right? So it truly is in a plastic bubble. She doesn't look too thrilled to be in it, but it is a very good facial likeness. It is the same face. So they didn't do anything different. Why would they, right? Save money, use the same face, shove it in a helmet. It definitely looks like it is the exact same face, just with a helmet around it. I appreciate that it goes all the way around the bottom, so it truly does look like we're dealing with a face mask, and it's just that extra little bit of detail in there. Speaking of details, look at the rest of this. I mean, look at the textures. Let's switch to manual so we can get as close as we can. Let's look at the textures on this helmet. The scales coming up the middle in almost like a mohawk type fashion. The separated individual bits sculpted in right there, almost like scales yet again. You know, again, very aquatic type thing. We got the blue paint on here. No major issues really standing out. If I have it blown up on the screen, you can kind of see a little bit of things right there, but that is blown up massively on a screen. And again, as I've said plenty of times, that is no big deal when we have to look that close. Even around the side here, now on the screen, the glare kind of made me think some of the blue was on there, but no, everything's looking okay. Almost seems like maybe some of the blue could have been a little bit thicker right there. It's tough to see on the screen, but it almost looks like some of the green of the cast plastic is shining through. But not enough to really be a problem. That's being nitpicky and trying to find something. But really, I am just honestly sold because of this faceplate, this clear plastic faceplate. How cool is that? Am I the only one who's in awe of that? Throw it in the comments if you think it's just absolutely ridiculous or you think it's awesome. You know, whatever. I think it's fantastic. But let's check this side to side. So decent side to side. One thing that I've noticed is you see if I tilt it to the side here, this side of the helmet starts to kind of go over. The net kind of pushes it away, but the side to side is very decent, even with it being pushing some of that away. If we don't let it do that, still pretty good. Up and down, let's look at the profile. So up, not bad, right? She's definitely not looking forward. She is certainly looking up to the sky. Down, I'm gonna say that's still a pretty straightforward look, because if I try and do straightforward, it's a barely a shift to it. So yeah, down not too good. Up is very well done, but I guess, you know, maybe she's flying through the air, or if it's aquatic, maybe she's swimming in the water. She needs to look forward. The neck looks like it is attached to the torso, so we don't really have any movement there, but we do have the head on a ball. So decent movement. And ultimate test, we've got full Exorcist, right? Dual rotation right there, so fantastic. I'm sold. If you get an Exorcist, that's it. No butterfly joint for the shoulder, but still good mobility, right? Up and down. Very tight right there. So you can hear it kind of clicks into place. There's about 3 different positions of a click right there. Good. Tricep, bicep, upper area rotation around a rounded shoulder. So there's not really any hindrance. No muscle getting in the way or anything like that. She does have muscle, but it's not sculpted in a manner that it prevents the rotation. Double pinless elbow. Let's check out that flexibility. Oh yeah. Check out those guns. Go, Nakia. All right. Pinless elbows, very good. No forearm or no upper elbow rotation. The hand and wrist do go all the way around, and the hand does the back and forth wave. Okay, let's check out the other side. Same articulation for this arm as far as all the way down to the wrist, and the wrist goes all the way around, And we have the back and forth on this one as well. And this one is in a fist. And this one is another semi-open hand with the fingers split down the middle. So very interesting. We only have one full fist as an offering because all the other ones have slightly open hands. And this one, you know, we got open hand over here. We have almost the same thing going on with this one. So very interesting. I wonder if that was intentional or accidental, because there's not a huge difference between these two hands. Anyway, I digress and I move on. So here in the mid-torso, wow, excellent back flexibility and moving backwards, forwards, a little bit, right? So a little bit to kind of give you a little bit of posability, but not a whole lot. Just like the head doesn't really move forward a whole lot, but the back is good for some good action poses, some jumps. As you can see, this little belt just wants to fly around all over the place. It's very lightweight. It doesn't really have a spot that it fixes. It does rest very well like that, but as soon as you touch it, it does bounce around. That's okay, so just be mindful of that when posing. It is something that's going to be an opportunity. The legs, we do not have the magical pull down and over, but not horribly impeding the flexibility. We have a semi-split going on, right? So the learning how to split, which I would have expected Nakia to be able to do a full split. Just going to throw it out there because she's so tough and just awesome at what she does. All right, so upper thigh rotation, took a little bit to pop it loose. As we rotate though, this blue bit does come separated, so that's a thing as far as visual. But what are you going to do, right? You either don't have the rotation or you have to just kind of deal with a little bit of rotation there. And really for the overall image, it doesn't take away as much as someone could naturally rotate their leg. Because if you go too far, you're starting to get into not very realistic capabilities of a human body. So there we go. There's that. Double pinless knees. Let's see if we can limber up for the fight. We sure can. Ready to go. All right, so we got that. And we've got the good up and down on the foot and the classic ankle breaker. So she's good to go there. And the other leg has the same capabilities and functionalities. Let's take a quick look at these paint apps as we get a little bit closer. Let's switch to manual and get that focus a little bit tighter. Okay. There is a lot to look at here, right? So cast in a general dark green, harder plastic with a lot of paint apps on it. So like the metallic green, which in looking at it, of course, it's going to be a little bit difficult to spot major issues. Ooh, it'd be good if I didn't have it too close because of the similarities of the greens, right? So the dark, it is darker and there is a metallicness to it, but they do have a way of kind of blending, and you really, really have to look close and nitpick. And if it's like that, I'm going to say it's good, at least on the front, right? And same thing with the blue. Nothing really stands out. There could be some spots like this. Seems like there was more layered on, so it's a little bit richer than up here. Almost seems like some of the dark green is showing through a little bit more than it would here. But it's good that they have it down here because with this cast in the rubbery plastic in that color, it's good to have it close by where you have the color much better applied than up here. Because if you have it up here, you can definitely see where it stands out a little bit more. Hopefully that's coming through on the TV. Now, front looking fine. The reason why I emphasize the front, aside from right there, is if we rotate around to the back, we do not have the metallic reflective green travel around the leg. So a little disappointed to see that. Not surprised, honestly, but still disappointed. And I mean, you can almost see that maybe this was supposed to be a metallic green and maybe some of these other highlights were supposed to be, but they just weren't done. The blue, why would you have the blue travel all around when you don't do the green? I guess because green and green, it's close enough, and they they assume that, you know, if you flip it around, you're not going to really be able to have it stand out so much, and not many people look at the back of it anyway. But still, if you're going to wrap the blue around like that, just do the green. Come on, add that little bit of detail. Add that little bit of cost and have it reflect to us. You know, let us see that shiny green on the back. Let us see that you care about those additional details and just the tiny little hidden things that somebody may not care about, but some of us do. Okay, but that's it. I mean, really, no big issues with old Nakia. A couple little paint things. It's unfortunate that the metallic green is not around on the back, but you know, again, to be expected, not really a surprise. And she does have her beads on the wrist, which is kind of cool. Those beads could have used a little bit of extra paint to make them pop a little bit more, but there we go. And as you saw, as I rambled, she stands pretty well on her own. So there we have Nakia. And now we move on to our next, and let's see, who do we have? Oh yes, none other than the legendary Okoye. Right, what an amazing person, right? The General Okoye, very well done, excellent character. Here on the back, we've got the rendering. We see the Attuma piece that's coming with it. We see what comes with Okoye. She doesn't need a lot, right? She's just Dura Milaje. They don't need a lot. And here's that checklist of what's coming. So number 3, we make sure we've got the right parts in there. And then there's the render on the front and the drawing there on the side. So very cool. Very cool. I'm excited to open it. I don't want to take too much time. As you can see, we're kind of going through the box very quickly. And let's get that tape. Black Panther logo yet again. And we'll pull Okoye out. That's everything that's in the box. So we're good. We're going to put that one to the side. And hey, guess what? I can feel it. It's right there. Okay, so I'm going to move that to the side. Another one for the collection. And one package that comes out very immediately. Obviously feels like there's a spear in there. One other package. That's it for the floating ones. And then she's just ready to drop right on out. So we've got 2 accessory packs and 1 figure pack. And that is it for the cardboard. So we will put that to the side. Just so that you can have a little mental checklist of what to look for when you open yours. And hopefully when we do these checklists, I'm never missing anything. Okay. I was actually in a Walmart earlier today, and there was a Namor box that had a massive hole in it. So I hope nothing was missing for whoever picks that one up. I'm always sad to see that because you never know what the story was behind it. I'm hoping it was just a packaging damage. But here it is, massive spear for Okoye to use. Now it is solid silver. And I get it, you may say, well, it's clearly vibranium, so it just needs to be this grayish silver color. But I'm going to say it. It wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of highlights on there, right? To make things pop. It could be a slightly different shade of gray or anything like that. But of course, the more we put it in a hand, the more that stuff would scratch. And it's made of a nice flexible material. So that flexible rubbery plastic. So, well done. And of course, with these, you can't get too dangerous with the blades. You want them to stay flexible. So they're not too terribly sharp or anything like that. I think it looks great. I think it's going to look great with the figure. So I'm going to move on and not harp on the lack of airbrush or dry brush details on a spear. And here we have Attuma's head. So we're going to pop that to the side over there because we're going to wait till we have them all together, ready to do all of Attuma. And let's pull out the figure. So there is our Okoye. Look at that. Even coming out of there, she just looks angry. She's ready to fight, right? Because she is serious. And what a beautiful color palette on this figure, right? The bright red, the bright orange, this yellow on here, the gold, and then you've got some red and looks like some bluish gray on the makeup, the paint on the head. Oh my gosh, it's just so fantastic. And then even the pants just kind of helps make everything pop even more. I'm thrilled to have this. I've not had an Okoye figure, and she is just such a legendary character. All right, let's dig into this one. Are we ready? Okay, so let's bring her close. Let's take a good close look at this face and this head. Again, very well done with the printing of the face. I mean, you look at it and you say, well, yep, that's obviously Okoye. And then let's look at the paint apps on the head itself. Okay, so I'm going to switch it to manual to see if we can get it as close as possible so it's not bouncing around on us, because I want you to see the pattern of this. Do you see that? There is not only the paint on there, but it is done in an intricate pattern. Tiny little lines in between all these red lines. So that is well done. It would be even better if my hand stood still. Obviously, if we're looking this close, we can see the casting lines for the head where it was done. Can't really avoid that. This is an action figure, right? We'd be asking a whole lot and a lot higher price if we had all that go away. The casting flash at least doesn't show, but so well done. Look at that, the patterns on there. And I don't immediately see any major issues with it because we have the red with the tiny thin flesh tone lines underneath. And then we have the grayish blue coming in spots in between there. Now, is it supposed to be consistently between them all and consistent widths? Probably. Was it executed that way? No, not 100%, because you can kind of see This wavers off a little bit, the blue does. So yeah, if you look really close and then up here down the middle, it looks like it's off to the side. So a little bit of miss right there, not exactly perfect, but again, we're looking so close. Of course something's going to stand out. I got a little bit of casting flash on the chin right there, but I mean, all in all, just fantastic. Even the sculpt of the ear. I know that's silly, but look at, I mean, gosh, it's just amazing what people do. Okay, let's check out some flexibility here. Let's see about the head side to side. Yeah, decent, right? Especially when we go from one side to the next. Not too bad. Let's look at the up and down. Let's check out the profile. All down. Down is good, right? We saw that just pulling it out of the package. It was already had that down, kind of like, are you serious right now? You really want to fight me? Look, let's see about up, a little bit, right? So it doesn't go, that's better. Okay, so we have, oh yeah, if you just push it a little bit more, like I did, you see we have this joint here with the ball that the head is on, so that helps a lot with travel, and she is definitely ready to look far upwards. And then same thing with the down. So if I get the courage to push it a little bit harder, it does travel down a whole lot more. And now she looks just sad. Sad Okoye. It's going to be okay, Okoye. Okay, but there we go. So we'll pull that back up. Very good to see that. I like having that ultimate flexibility in the neck for the up and down for all kinds of different poses. But does she do it? Yes, she does. You know she does. There's nothing in the way here, right? Full exorcist rotation. And we have this little necklace hanging down here, which is cast from that gold kind of metallic plastic, just kind of floating around there. Very cool extra little detail. Now the neck itself is attached, fixed to the torso so it doesn't travel, but that's okay because we have that for some extra flexibility. Shoulders, we have this cast gold plastic shoulder pad that is attached to it, but it's in that design that we see a lot with like the Star Wars figures, the troopers and all that, where it travels up over the trapezius area. Now this one being so long, yes, it travels up, but it travels so far, it hits her neck. So it does stop and impede that progress. It does have some flex to it if you really push it higher. And the arm's not really, it doesn't need to go too much higher than that. If it does, you know, we can work with some other things on that. But rotation, it does have rotation at the deltoid, but obviously we're still dealing with that shoulder pad there, so it travels backwards. And yes, it will flex around, but, you know, how much do you really want to do that? So the capability's there. If things need to rotate, it does still have that bicep tricep. And as you can see, it's kind of a little bit lower than normal, probably to have clearance around that pad. So excellent move, and also using that natural line of the costume to disguise that rotation line, because it's a straight one, right? It's not following the musculature, it's just a straight across to use that band. All right, double pinless elbow. Let's check it out. There we go. See, with the rotation, it stays in place, being able to rotate it right there. And it looks like she got a massive tricep. So there we go. Win-win. Right? So that elbow is fantastic. No forearm rotation. We do have wrist rotation. We've got little beads right there. So excellent. Good to see those little details. And then we've got the forward and backward for the wrist over here. Let's check out the other side. Yeah, we got same articulation on that one. No butterfly joint in these shoulders. I didn't mention that before. Same double pinless elbows, full wrist rotation, and this is another back and forth, right? And then both hands, yep, they're in a grip fashion because she's ready to hold that spear with either or both hands. She's always ready to rock. All right, so mid-torso. Wow, look at that. Excellent. So that's very good downward flex. Very good rotation and upward flex, so not bad, right? Because she's a fighter. With that, there is no hip or waist rotation. Now, here's something that was going to be interesting because we've got a lot of stuff hanging down over the legs. So flexibility, kind of tough, right? Doesn't really want to travel because we've got this part of her outfit, her costume. But I mean, decent. We can still pull out a fairly decent Wakandan split. It's not bad. It's not the best because obviously this is getting in the way, and you can see as it travels forward that it is pulling on it, and it's making this joint flex a little bit, which tells me I'm trying to push it farther than it needs to go. But that being said, with that joint, that means we've got upper thigh rotation, which is pretty well hidden because of the drapes down of her costume. So it's pretty cool. And then double knee. So she is definitely ready to limber up, right? Ready for the run, ready for the fight. No calf rotation, but we do have the foot traveling up and down. And of course, we've got the good old-fashioned ankle breaker. So good there. And then the other leg has the exact same functionality. All right, so let's take a closer look at some paint apps here. We already took a look at the head. We took a look at that necklace, and it does match what is sculpted into the neck here in that gold. So it looks like it was done in gold and then painted the flesh tone on there. So that's very cool. And then all through here, nice paintwork, right? Even the detail in here, very cool. Because it's neat to see how small some of these little paint details can go, and the fact that it travels all the way up here to where that gap would show. And that tells you that I've gone too far if we see that gap, all right? No major issues, right? Showing in these patterns here. There might be some slight things if you look a little bit closer, but some of it's in there just to kind of show a lot of texture, a lot of detail, and even some wear, right? You can see how it kind of intentionally fades and then shows back up. It almost looks like it's to imply wear or dirt or just age or things like that. I mean, of course, Adora Milaje, she would keep her outfit and everything in the best possible condition, but some of these things, you know, you can't control. And some of these things, it might be a pride that it has that age and wear on it. The buckle here in the middle, very good, very shiny gold. This is gold paint, and they did a good job with it considering we have all this cast gold plastic all throughout. It is a little bit shinier, obviously. These are that metallic plastic, but that being a paint comes out a little bit more shiny. Around the back, no real obvious points where they skipped out on paint apps when they should have been there, because we have this draping across the back, we have the brown on it, and the orange through here, which does have texture, but that texture is also unpainted up here on the front. So it doesn't really seem like they skimped on anything. A couple issues maybe with the paint, where it got through on there, but I'm just happy to see that they did paint the back. Keeping the bar really low there, right? Keeping the bar very low. I like that these hanging pieces are the flexible plastic, but it does seem like there could have been some highlighted bits right there. You know, maybe there's some beads or some metallic pieces that could have had a little tiny bit of paint to make them pop. Okay, well that's it. I mean, otherwise everything's looking great. Let's see how Okoye stands on her own with how much manipulation she's going to need, if any, and she's definitely needing some because she wants to fall backwards. Oh, there she goes. All right, and that is Okoye standing on her own, and now it's time to move on to the next one. And that next one being Everett Ross. Okay, I think this is just about in the order that we listed him at the intro. So Everett Ross, we've got him on here, Black Panther. This is a legacy collection, although he is billed to be in Wakanda forever in looking at the cast. So, you know, not really a big spoiler alert. But there he is, the rendering of him. But he is featured here, even though this is the Legends version, because he comes with an Attuma piece and a couple other stuff. So there's our render. There is our, it looks like an actual photo of our guy there, and then over here on the side there's our checklist of what comes with him. So we've got 3 pieces. Yeah, not a bad haul. So they definitely made it a lot more interesting for people to pick up the legacy Everett Ross figure, because you don't want to miss out on 3 Attuma pieces, right? You got to complete the set. That's that thing, right? The Build-A-Figure, there's that empty box. The Build-A-Figure program is what we'll call it, where they ensure that, there we go, some figures get picked up even though they may not necessarily be the most popular. Here's one bag of accessories. It looks like our only bag of accessories. So let's pull the cardboard to the side, pull Everett out, and just to double check, that is everything in the cardboard. So we will set that to the side, and let's check accessory bag number 1. I bet the majority of these are going to be Attuma accessories. I always want to say Akuma, right, from a Street Fighter. Okay, so first and foremost, here we've got some Attuma pieces. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but none of these are part of Everett Ross's costume or setup. The only thing that comes with him, he's low maintenance, I guess, so he only has his weapon. And again, I don't really go into models that these are, or that these are modeled after or intended to be, but he does have one handgun that was included with him, and it does have an opening for if you have a suppressor or a blast effect that you want to add to it for that action pose. But there we go. Very well sculpted. Always could use that little bit of gray or maybe a dark blue wash to kind of make it pop. Bring a little bit of those extra details. If you're going to sculpt it, let us see it. All right, so let's open up old Everett here. Wait a minute. That's Bilbo Baggins. Nah, I'm just kidding. Okay, it's fancy Bilbo Baggins. But here we go. Obviously, it's a legacy one. So if you've seen them before, you've seen them all, right? They didn't really change anything. So one cool thing about this, right? I mean, he's definitely a big custom fodder piece for a lot of folks. I've seen where some people put like a Tomax and Zaymot head on it. I'm staying in Hasbro, so it's okay to suggest a G.I. Joe classified. But anyway, I'm already selling the guy short, and I haven't even looked at him closely. All right, so let's look at old Everett Ross. There we go. And looking at the head, paint apps, not bad. There's something that almost makes his face look like a little bit, I don't know, dirty. It might be just plastic imperfections. It might be a line of where the face printing is done. You know, it's just almost seems like there's, I don't know if you can see it there, if it's coming through, but it is well done. Don't get me wrong. The face looks fantastic as always. It is definitely a very good likeness of the character, of the actor, and the hair looking good, right? So like a grayish, almost blondish type thing with an even more whitish gray wash in it to help add some texture to it. And it does help show all the texture in the waves of the hair that they bothered to sculpt. And yet another well-sculpted ear. What is it with me and ears today? Okay, so let's look at the flexibility of it, right? So the neck attached to the torso. Head is on that, the ball up within it. Let's see if we can get our focus to work with me. So ball up in there, but we also have this hinge. So that is going to be great for the up and down. Let's look at the side to side. Not terrible, right? There's definitely been better. It's on the ball, so it does have a little bit of movement. Up and down, obviously, let's give it some love. And he can look up like he's going to fly. And he can also look down like he spilled something on his tie. He's very disappointed. It was ketchup. Nobody likes that. Or barbecue sauce. But there we go. So it's good to have that neck flexibility in there. So he's good to go. And, oh, we do have the possibility of full exorcism because of the flexibility of the neck. But as you saw, if he's looking straight forward, it does catch on his suit jacket collar a little bit. But if it pops up just a little bit, he can full exorcist rotation. I think it's neat that the jacket, at least this part of it, is an overlay on this this dress shirt type piece there. But let's take a look at the arms first, a little bit more in depth. There is the impression almost that it has a butterfly joint because of that thin line if we're looking through there, but there is truly not one underneath, right? But we do have arm rotation, you know, no issue there, and that is truly on the deltoid or the shoulder. We do have the upper tricep bicep rotation, so good there. Double elbows, but you know, with this being a legacy, it does have pins. No big deal. Good flexibility though, right? Ready for the Everett Ross gun show. And we pull it straight out. And we do have, oh man, that hyper extended a little bit there, but no real issue. Forearm rotation, nothing there, but we do have good wrist rotation with the forward and backward, although that hinge looks kind of small, so not a whole lot of travel on it, but a decent bit. Okay, same thing on the other side. With these joints just feel a little loose, right? So you can definitely tell it's a little bit older design. There have been some more updates to kind of make these joints a little bit tighter in some of the newer figures. It would be cool to see stuff like that introduced even when a legacy one is re-released, right? Just knowing that that little bit of extra touch is being done. But there we go, same forward and backward with the wrist. Here in the mid-torso, we have that U joint. The U joint, the me joint. This one it's free moving, right? So it's not one that pops into position. Downward, as you can see, very good. Upwards, not bad. We do have the suit jacket possibly causing some interference, but that is the highest it'll go. And it doesn't really push it down. He kind of stays in that looking to the heavens position, right? Waist rotation, we do have that. So good there, a good pivot on that. And then the legs, they do have decent flexibility. The jacket moves with it, but it's a decently flexible rubber type material, so it doesn't really hinder it. This is truly as far as these legs would go, even if the jacket was out of the way. So Everett Ross not really built to split. He does have that upper thigh rotation. We don't have the leg drop. We do have double pins for the knee, so that does help with the flexibility for the limbering up for, you know, the spy 5K, the SPIVK, okay? No calf rotation, but we do have up and down. Now the pant leg and the design of the shoe, they do hit each other, right? The shoe it's a very interesting design, right? So we've got that black ball looking hinge. Wow, major issue right there. That comes down, and the sole of the shoe does hit that. It will travel beyond it. It just has to flex, kind of like how we see some shoulder pads sometimes. But he does have ankle breaker, right? If you're wearing shoes like that, run around, you better be prepared for the ankle breaker. Okay, same flexibility over on this side. Not the same paint opportunity right there. So we've got some that's just scratched off. All right, but let's look at these paint apps real quick. Let's break down old Everett. I do appreciate the cast flexible plastic blue tie, and that it is a separate piece, not just painted on. Although I know that does free things up for the capability of more reprints and repaints, I should say. So we'll hold that out of the way, and you can see there's a little bit of a mark right there, an imperfection that does not easily just scratch off. It might come off with some treatment. The buttons on the shirt would be neat to see those, the little extra detail of those done. When we did it on the jacket, but not on the shirt, right? So like where you could lift the tie up, it stays up. Where you could lift the tie up and see those little details, just that kind of stuff is what makes something pop. Jacket, again, an overlay, not bad. This is all just cast plastic. Same thing here. We do have the belt painted on there. The belt buckle, painted silver, not bad. We don't really see too much bleed over on the the belt loops, and the belt is painted all the way around the back and fairly cleanly in a shiny black paint. He's got that fancy shiny leather belt, and no real other issues that stand out. We do have the buttons on the jacket sleeves painted. That's nice to see. Crease down the line. We've got the slits right there, but they're together because that would be a lot. But right there, we do have some paint missing on the leg. So a little sad to see that, but it's on the back. And hey, it's not the first Marvel Legends figure that's been missing paint around the back, am I right? Yeah, okay. That was a dumb joke. But hey, it's not the first one in this line that we've seen. Okay, one thing that's standing out very quickly here is Everett does not want to stand up, and it almost seems like we're dealing with a different length of leg thing, but I think it's that this foot is just a little bit stiff. There we go. All right, so our Stiff is standing now on his own, so there we go. Everett Ross stands pretty well by himself. And we move on to the next one, and that is our special police, the Hatut Zeraze. Hopefully I am pronouncing that correctly. If I am not, and you're good at writing phonetics, please add it in the comments. Let me know that I have screwed up, and let me know where I can find the appropriate pronunciation for it. This is comic book, right? So this is Black Panther, but it is still part of the Attuma Build-A-Figure. So there's our render. There's our piece that comes with, look, this one comes with several. We've got 3 different sets of fists and 2 weapons. I'm excited to pop into that. There is our Attuma checklist, 1 piece, and then here is our front render with a good drawing from the comic books of a couple of the Hatut Zeraze right there. So very cool to see that. At first when I saw it, I was like, oh man, it's a white wolf, but very similar, right? Because white wolf and helping lead the Hatut Zeraze, but it's neat that it's this. So it's a cool troop building opportunity for some, right? I've been surprised to ever see these, and there's the symbol right there. Very cool. All right, so let's pop in. Enough about that. Let's look at this figure. It's such a cool looking figure. All right, so let's get it. And it's super cool that it would be an army of these, right? Empty box. So we'll move that to the side. It's intended to be multiple of these. Okay, so here's 1 accessory pack. Yeah, 1 pamphlet. And we'll pop this over to the side so we can get our figure out, and that is it for the cardboard. So we're looking for 1 accessory pack, 1 figure bag. All right, now let's scoot old special police over to the side, and let's get these parts out. There's going to probably be some small ones, so be very careful in dumping any of these out, because you don't want to lose anything, and we all know how accessories love to go flying. Gravity just loves accessories. There's our leg. We're going to move it over to the side because we are getting closer to having a full Attuma. All right, so 2 different sets of hands, 2 different weapons. Let's take a look at these hands first. These hands. Okay. Let's get them organized correctly. So here, first and foremost, we've got like some claw hands, right? Ready to attack. Very very Black Panther looking, very ready to go. Boy, that is some bright light on this white painted figure. So let's bring the lights down. Let's soften the mood here so maybe we can see some detail a little bit better. Yeah, so there we go. Some of it's kind of popping through. I don't know if you can see it, but there's just like lines as far as like creases or where the costume itself is flexed. There we go. Let's cover it some with my hand. So you can see how they've sculpted in just some of the fabric bunching up because, you know, doing that claw hand, the fabric is going to shift. But then you also have hand details sculpted into that, like the actual musculature and shape of the hand with some fabric pulling there where the thumb's coming around. So very cool to see that. And then, of course, we've got these trigger hands ready for weapon holding. Same quality of sculpting. And they are supposed to be all white, so, you know, how am I going to complain about that? It's an all-white costume. It's supposed to be bright white because they are an elegant special force in there. And then, of course, what special force wouldn't have gigantic special weapons? Let's bring the lights back up for this, right? So we can maybe see some of the details. Interesting that we have to bring lights up for some and lights down for others so that we can see the details. But hey, with this one, a little bit of paint app might have helped pop out some of these details because it's a very well sculpted weapon. That is flexible plastic, so it is kind of flexed up a little bit. And not bad looking, right? Not bad looking at all. Very cool, very dangerous looking. Different style of weapon. And then of course we have a little handgun here with an extended, it looks like a barrel extender maybe on it. Tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if that's something else, but I'm pretty sure that's what we're looking at. And I can't tell if this one is particularly modeled after a specific one. If it is, like I said, I don't really share that, even if I do identify it. If there is one, very cool. But there we go. Yeah, not too bad. Both of these, of course, could use a little bit of dry brushing or a little bit of something to help them pop. One thing that I noticed is they do not have an opening on the end for any kind of blast effects. So if you wanted that, it might be a little bit of a custom thing where tiny little hole being drilled in it so that this fella here is ready to hold it and have some cool action poses with some blast effects. Okay. Let's get him out. Very simple, right? Cast in the white plastic, got some blue highlights to it. And just looking at it, it immediately is a very comic book look, right? So let me bring those lights back down because we have an absolutely bright white figure here. There we go. Okay, so we can see some of the details of it. So the mask, the head, not a whole lot to it, right? It's very well sculpted. I do love the expression on it. It's just so cool because it's full face covering, but we've got little details and lines in there. Hard to really mess up with paint apps on this one. It is cast in the white plastic, has the little eyes painted on there, and the eyes look like they were painted quite well, which is good because, right, we're casting a massive white plastic figure. Let's spend a little bit of extra time making sure the paint is properly and well executed. And it is. We got the black outline with the silver in there. No major issues standing out. Neck clearly attached to the torso, right? And we have this hinge along with the ball that's quite visible. So side to side, pretty good, right? Par for the course. Up and down, obvious. Oh, that looks painful. Up and down, obviously, is going to be fantastic, right? You can almost see behind him by looking forward and down so far. You can see his little kitty toes. Okay, there we go. Ultimate test. Boom. Full exorcist rotation. Obviously, there's nothing in the way here. We don't have butterfly joints there. So, you know, we're dealing with usually indicative of an older design. But we do have good arm rotation. And we do have the bicep, tricep, upper area rotation. And none of the musculature really gets in the way because we're dealing with a pretty rounded deltoid or shoulder on there. So that's good. Elbow, double elbow, but it is pinned. So another indication that it's maybe a little bit older one. And you may know exactly what this is made off of. But hey, I'm just getting into this, so I'm learning. And I look forward to the day where I can say, oh, well, this is clearly from this figure. Blah, blah, blah. It originated here. Forearm rotation, not really a thing. That pin is very far down there. Kind of concerning, but it looks like maybe it's supposed to be that way. It's a very short pin. No forearm rotation again. And then wrist rotation, pretty good with what looks like we have forward and back, but it is kind of stuck in place. But I'll finagle that a little bit. I don't want to break it on camera. But we do clearly from that hinge have a forward and backward on the wrist. Same thing on this side coming around. You can see that these joints are just a little bit more flexible than I would prefer. And again, indicative of older ones. And then this wrist shows that good forward and backwards in the rotation. In the torso, we have that U shape, right? So the up and down, very good. Pops in 3 different locations. So there's one of those. And then we've got good waist rotation. Legs don't do the pull down thing. They also do not spread out very far at all. We don't even really have enough. Hatut Zeraze, you should be able to do a split. I mean, come on. Okoye can do a bigger split than that, and she's got a massive dress thingy on. Upper thigh rotation, pretty good there. Double pinned knee, not terrible, but they can definitely do the limber up for the split that they can't do. No calf rotation, and then the foot has the up down and the ankle breaker. So, and same thing on the other side. And then just a quick review of these paint apps around the wrist. These little gauntlet type pieces have that metallic light blue. It's an absolutely beautiful color, especially paired up against the white. Both sides look like they're pretty cleanly painted. No issues there. And I'm happy to see that, right? Because if you're not dealing with a whole lot and you're dealing with most likely just a recast and a repaint, nail the paint, right? Properly execute it, get it as perfect as possible. And yeah, it looks like they did. Couple little things, maybe I felt like I saw something stand out, but I really, that might have just been the light, maybe a little bit there, a little bit of a wavering, but you know what, not too bad. I have to look very close on the side of a leg to find a major issue with it. Pretty cool figure, and let's see how quickly it stands on its own. Very good. And as standing it, I see the detail, like the feet, the cat-like feet here. That is fantastic. The panther feet. So cool. That with the clawed hands is just going to be a fantastic look. Okay, let's move on to the next. We have 2 more to go, and we have definitely taken a while. We've got our Black Panther comic book version, so ready to go. And you can obviously see already we've got probably some reuse on there. On the back, there's our rendering. Looks like it comes with an extra pair of fists. Yet another Attuma piece, and in case you weren't sure which one and where it went, there you go. And there's our drawing of the Black Panther from the comic books. Oh, I am excited to have this one because of the cape with the popped collar. Okay, so let's get this guy out of here. All right. There's our logo yet again for it being one of the comic ones. And included in, I like that this is covering multiple different areas, right? So there's our pamphlet for the collection, 1 accessory pack coming out, and then we'll pop the Black Panther out of here. And as I'm doing, oh, he just slid right out. But there we go, that's it for the cardboard. But as I'm doing that, as I was saying, it's cool to see these coming from different categories, I guess, right? So we have Wakanda Forever, we have a few of those, and we have comic books, and we even have the Legends one, right? So the redone Everett Ross. Granted, like I said, he is billed to be in the new movie, but that was the return of an original one. So there's another Attuma piece. Here are our 2 fists. So just a checklist from that 1 accessory pack. 1 leg, 2 fists, and that's what to look for. And in these fists, look at these details, right? I love the lines, right? So they didn't just cheat and use the same hands that were used in the Hatut Zeraze. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. These have like a glove type line all the way down, and that is very cool. Detail on it, not bad. We can see the claw showing through on the thumb right there, even though it is in a fist and ready to attack and punch. And you've got good detail as far as the crinkle of when a fist is made. It's amazing. I say it every time, but it is amazing what these sculptors pull out. They should do this professionally. Oh wait, they do. That's right. Okay, and then coming out, looking just absolutely fantastically aggressive. Let's bring the lights up because we're back to a darker figure, and we want to make sure we get it lit properly. There we go. So we can see what we're working with. All right, here's our guy. Much like the Hatut Zeraze, not a lot of paint apps necessary for it because we're dealing with a lot of cast black plastic. Some shine and reflection and glare opportunities, like up here to down here. This seems a little bit harder, maybe it's softer, but no big deal. Let's look at the face first. So in looking at this, right, it is very difficult to see what's going on with the eyes, but that is awesome. Just right, adds to the mystery of it. So it's like the glare travels. It's like you almost see like there's a gray line there, but then you look this way and it looks like it's just a dot. That is just Excellent. And looking straight on it looks like a dot. It just adds to the mystery of it. And it is, I'm gonna say, yeah, it's actually silver painted across it, but the way that it reflects the light, it looks like they're just dots, these little beady eyes just looking at you. I mean, like a cat in the night reflecting the light back. That is just cool. Okay. And the sculpt of it, not terribly far off from what we just saw. It's got the nice, but you know, a little bit different. It's got the expression of the face and musculature showing through. Let's look at the side to side. You know, not bad. I'm kind of really having to force it. There's really not a lot of side to side going on there, if I'm honest. Up and down, we do have it on the ball with that additional hinge, so up and down is very good. We're not dealing with a straightforward. And even with the popped collar, boom, we have full exorcist. And it helps that we're dealing with cast plastic on cast flexible plastic, so we don't really have to worry about too much paint rub, or any paint rub, or too much just wear and tear there. Okay, so shoulder here, we do have a butterfly joint right there, so that's the first one that we've seen in this set. But we also do have good rotation and mobility of it. It's a little bit difficult to get to because the cape kind of blocks it, but we do have the bicep tricep. It's pretty free because of the rounder shoulder. We've got double, boom, pinless elbows, excellent flexibility, leading up to a non-rotational forearm, but we've got the glove theme going with the lines, to a properly rotating wrist with good back and forth flexibility. Same thing on the other arm, right? So rotating with the back and forth flexibility. And these just massively aggressive looking paws. I mean, look at those hands with the claws on them. They just look huge. What an aggressive stance just coming out. We've got the U shape here in the torso. Pretty good. Pops into 3 different locations. The back one, a little bit difficult to get to. Sometimes the cape blocks it a little bit. Hip rotation, pretty good. We've got this little belt right here that does not want to travel so much like we saw before on Nakia. There's just musculature in the body that holds it in place a little bit better and helps mask that rotation line. The legs, good split, right? This is one of the best splits we've seen today. It does not do the drop down, but it does still have pretty good flexibility. Okay, it's Black Panther, of course. Upper thigh rotation, double knee, let's see, with no pins. Let's get that bottom one to move so we can see that. Oh yeah, look at that Black Panther flexibility. Look at him limbering up. I gotta push it out to make it grab because it bent so well. And then the foot, we've got good up and down and ankle breaker, so not bad. And I like the almost like ninja feet thing going here, right? So the Hatut Zeraze had the panther-like feet, and then this has more like a ninja shoe. I don't know what that shoe is called off the top of my head. If you know, throw it in the comments. Again, I love to learn. All right, paint apps, not a whole lot, right? We're dealing with the eyes, which are just mystifying. Everything else is cast, either rubbery plastic or what have you. The cape, very well done, right? It's a thicker but flexible plastic, and these thin little straps. Would have been neat to see some highlights on the rope just to kind of make that texture show. No real issues with these gloves or down here. You know what? Look at that. There is a calf rotation. And it's hidden by the line of this sock boot thing, right? So very cool, but no real paint issues there, and no paint issues like wrapping around the back that are or are not there. So this one actually seems pretty scuff or issue free. Happy to see that. The only thing that I would say is it wouldn't be bad to see some a little bit of a dry brush on the rope to make it pop just a little bit more. Okay, that is our Black Panther for the comics. Let's see how he stands on his own with a little bit of effort. There he goes. Very easy. I mean, he's got some massive feet, and he seems like he's very well balanced, even with that cape on. There's a very awkward stance, but he just jumped right into it. So there we go. All right, and let's move on to the next. And that next one, the last one of the boxed ones, is Namor, right? So fresh and new to the MCU, fresh and new to our collection. There is our rendering. There's our last Attuma piece, and there's our accessory. So Attuma checklist. There's a drawing of old Namor, looks very good, and then there's our rendering yet again with the Black Panther Wakanda Forever logo. Let's bust into this box. Hey, if you've hung out with us this whole time, thank you so much. We've been digging through a lot of figures, and doing an individual unboxing each time certainly adds a lot of time. I hope you've enjoyed it. As we're getting closer to the end, here's one package, here's one pamphlet, so add that to the collection. And it looks like we've got one package and one figure. And I don't want to jump to conclusions and say so, But yep, that's it. We're done with that cardboard. So we'll cast it to the side, move Namor to the side, and let's open up this first one. Probably got some small parts in there, right? So we've got a nice spear. Our last Attuma piece, which we will assemble him momentarily. Move that paper out of the way, and let's take a look at the fists. These are both, well, they're actually different, right? So we have a grip fist and a punch fist, which I'm curious, I'm sure we may have the other balled fist and another grip fist on the figure itself, but we'll find out. Now let's look at some of the detail of this fist, because they're going to be similar, right? We've got great hand detail sculpt in there. The paint, it almost looks like some of it still shows through, which is odd. It does look like it's painted. You would think that it would probably be cast, but I guess they assumed maybe we're going to cast it out of one color and paint it through, because it definitely looks like there's a darker color shining through, and it doesn't quite match that cast peg. Okay, but anyway, moving on, let's take a look at the spear. Slightly bent from packaging, just that general probably casting and then the heat of it traveling around, but very cool spear, right? I do love the colors on this one. How very undersea, aquatic, regal looking. But let's look a little bit closer, see some of the details of it, right? So here on the tip of it, lots of detail built into that. You know what it kind of reminds me of? The Spear of Destiny from the Constantine movie, right there on the end, right? Because it's got that little bit sculpted into it with that beautiful color of paint, almost like a turquoise. And then we've got some green painted on this cast gold metallic-y plastic that they're liking to use. And there's a lot of detail in here and all the way down here at the end, like an Aztec or an Incan type symbol there on the end looking, right? So that's very cool. I do like this thing. It is great. I like the paint apps on it. No major issues. Some green kind of not showing around the edges, but that seems kind of common. It almost seems like a little bit of gold shows through on this turquoise, especially as the light shines through it. But all in all, pretty good. This is supposed to be gold, so I'm not going to be mad that it's actually just gold. It helps make it seem like it stays in a good pristine shape. All right, and let's take a look at this. That's very, very striking coming out of old Namor here. Okay, so first let's take a look at the head. It's kind of like a deer in headlights, but I'm going to say that the photorealism is well done. Looks a lot like the actor portraying the character. And just kind of looking around, the earrings, pretty good paint app on the green right there. Tiny bit of green for the piercing through the nose, and then of course the green on the earrings over there. The edge, you can still kind of see some of the cast flesh tone plastic showing through. The hair, the texture on it, very well done. No real wash to help bring out any of the extra texture, but that's okay. I mean, I think it is supposed to be just more like a flat, plain brown, but hey, you know what? There could have been a slightly different shade to help some stuff pop. Photorealism, great. Let's look at the side to side. No side to side, really. It's barely moving, and I got to put a little bit of effort into that. Up and down, okay, but that's going to be better because we do have that hinge in there and the ball. So a good upward and good down, which is good because he's supposed to be able to fly. Okay, and then we have this this neck piece that is a floating on the neck, which is attached to the torso. So, but let's check before we move on, and we've got, yep, full exorcist. So very happy to see everybody's got exorcist capability in this so far. No butterfly joint there, but decent rotation. Once you get that shoulder moving, that the deltoid will travel. And it does have good musculature, and you can see the tricep rounds up very well, but with the shape of the shoulder, it just clears the very bottom there. So we do have good rotation on that. And we've got this cast gold metallic plastic band. We have a double pinless elbow. So there we go, ready to salute or give you tickets to the gun show. Wrist, no forearm rotation. Wrist does rotate well. And we've got the forward and backwards, and we have a gauntlet that is of that metallic gold with some green on there, and then same thing on the other side. Very interesting to see both of these hands are more like a flying or a swimming hand, which is good, right? Because he is an aquatic dude, so he should be ready to dive or swim. I kind of expected one of them to be a fist, but we do have a fist and a grip hand in that extra set. Here we have good rotation at the lower rib cage area. It's not that U shape. It is one that is on more of like a ball in there, so it does have a good bit of more natural mobility instead of the click back and forward. But it does mean that we sacrifice waist rotation. And then as far as the legs, it almost looks like there's a slight bit of the pull down. You can see there's some gap, but it might just be because I am pulling it and want it to be there. Good split though, right? It's a pretty good Namor split. So can't complain. Thigh rotation is hidden by the bottom of the shorts. Very cool there. Double pinless knee. Good, ready to limber up or high five his own bottom of his foot. And no calf rotation because we don't really have any spot for it, nor do we have a line. The foot does a good up and down, and we have ankle breaker capability. Now in here, let's take a closer look. The other leg, same thing, you know, very same flexibility, same capability. But let's take a closer look at the paint. I am moving a little bit faster, and I do apologize for that. I just don't want to take up as much more of your time as I possibly could. All right, but the paint apps on this neck piece, just beautiful. The whole thing is beautiful, right? Cast in that metallic gold, right? And then just all of the jewels and beads and everything put in there. And you can see it's just like, it's a serpent, right? This, like a sea serpent coming through to a giant pearl on both sides. And then pearls all around here. Just fantastic. And I love the metallic blue that they used. I wonder if around here maybe something was missed or skipped. But they did bring these pearls around. And they did bring the blue up pretty high. It seems like it was intended to stop in the sculpt, but I can't tell. It almost seems like some of it could have been done there. But I'm not going to complain because from the front, it is beautiful. The cuffs on the arms do kind of travel down. So, you know, we kind of wedge them back up to where they're supposed to be, being mindful of how they're sculpted. They do have a little bit of a shape. This one, we already saw this one, it is just that cast gold metallic plastic. Same thing with this one with a little bit of green highlight. And that green highlight seems to be executed pretty well. Fairly straight lines on it. And it's a shiny green. The cuffs on the wrists, same thing on both sides, right? So the cast gold with that little bit of green. And when I first saw it on this side, I thought maybe it was they screwed up the paint, but it seems from both of them being the same, that it is intentional to do that curve there at the top. So very cool. I like when there's symmetry because then I can compare one to the other because usually both aren't going to be messed up. The belt here seems fairly well stuck in place. I don't know that it is attached to anything, but it just stays in place very well. It seems like there's a little bit of a ridge line in there, kind of. Not a Honda ridge line, but just a regular ridge line. And then that little spot right there. Yeah, I don't think you can fit a truck in there. But that is that cast metallic gold plastic. Shorts, very well done. And then down here, there's a lot going on down here, and it looks fantastic, right? So the wings, very neat. I love the texture on that, and they are in that white plastic. We've got the gold metallic plastic here, and it looks like we've got a little bit of brown paint highlights going on there. So very cool. And then on the feet, the brown looks like maybe cast in brown, and then, well, no, cast in flesh, obviously, and then painted brown, but painted well. Missed a little bit right there. That's probably something that would have scuffed off with use, honestly. The pearlescent looking thing there, maybe just a giant pearl. And then some more of that metallic turquoise to highlight it. And on both sides, it looks very cleanly done. Tiny bit right there. It seems like some of the blue might be missing on that one. But again, you got to be that close to see it. I'm going to give it a pretty good pass. All right, so let's see how old Namor stands on his own. How quickly. Let's see if those wings pull him backwards. There he is. He stands very nicely with minimal effort, so that's pretty good start for posing. And now, last but not least, let's put our guy together. So we've collected all these parts for him. Let's put Attuma together. Okay, so this is our Build-A-Figure. Let's put the head on. Okay, first and foremost, let's look at this head. Okay, so very cool. Let's switch to manual and draw it in. So lots going on here. Very neat looking. Got the face mask on there. Another one of those clear things, kind of like Nakia had. You can see a nose piercing, silver kind of shining through there. There we go. And just the details on the face, even though you can't really see much of it, you can tell there was a lot of time spent on it. This bone looks like a whale skull. The details on it, right, cast in that bone color, but there's a little bit of a wash, hey, like a grayish brown to kind of help give that bone impression on there. The earrings painted green, very well done. A little bit of blue shining right there on the green. The headdress, hair. Okay, so some of this is coming out of the bone, so I'm guessing these are just blades or something that are stuck in there. And then we've got the hair coming through. So very cool. I mean, this guy's got a lot going on. What a cool looking character. Okay, so that's our head. There's our torso. Let's put them together. And obviously we're going to have some pretty good up and down. The neck is attached to the torso. But let's stick this on. All right, that takes a little bit of effort. And I'm just trying to be careful where I do grip to do that because I don't want to bend these things too horribly. See, I kind of bunched them together by doing that. But okay, there we go. There's that. Let's pop these arms in and we will take a little dive into looking at our guy, Akuma, or I did it, Attuma, not Akuma. This isn't Street Fighter. All right, so we got those in there. I appreciate the difficulty it is to get these things to snap into place because that's what kind of helps reassure me that I am truly putting a figure together that is meant to stay together. Okay, so appendages that difficultly go together, stay together. I suppose that should be the old turn of phrase. All right, so let's straighten this guy out. And real quick, we're going to look at the accessories. I'll put them together right in front of you. So here, a couple of weapons, right? It seemed like they're made from maybe some wood, some bone, and just wrapped on there. So we've got that brownish, grayish color with a little bit of bone sticking out of it. Some wraps right here, and then just a little strap that would, go around the wrist to make sure you don't lose it or drop it. Because if you drop it in the water, it's gone. You can't find it again, even if you live underwater, if that's where this guy lives. He's got the face mask, so I'm assuming so, right? So there's that one. And then this giant spear blade looking thing also with some bones and a very metallic purple on the blade, which is very neat. And then the brown still travels through on that. A little bit more bone. I like this, right? No additional things down here like on the wrap or anything like that, which could have helped it pop. But I do like the color that it is cast in. It's that brownish, metallic-y gray with a hint of purple. Okay, let's look at the dude himself. So, head side to side, pretty good. Even though we just snapped it in, forward and down, or up and down, pretty good. On the profile, ignore that. The hair does get in the way. In trying to make him look up, right? So the hair sculpted on there, sculpted very well, but sculpted where it does get in the way of that upward look. Now, arm. Oh, you know what? What am I doing? The arm coming off threw me off. So I wonder if we have the arm on there. Do we have exorcist capability? We do. Look at that. The hair, the flexibility of it does clear, but it is a little bit difficult. We're only going to do one rotation because of that. But if the hair is out of the way, we do still have full exorcist capability. All right. So obviously an opportunity there, right? I've plugged the arm in, albeit poorly, obviously, twice, but this shoulder piece and this are going to hit each other very quickly, and that's going to put pressure on that joint. If it's not pushed in, the arm's going to come right back off. It does travel up, it does travel over, but it pushes it, and it's going to try and push that arm back down if it doesn't pop it out. But decent rotation on the arm. We have the bicep and tricep upper rotation. We've got double elbow. This guy's got so much stuff on him though. It does hinder some of the flexibility. But double elbow, not too bad. Maybe toying with it might make it a little bit more flexible. Forearm rotation, none. Wrist rotation, full, and we have the front and back. And just look at these fish bones and stuff that travel all the way down. This guy is just ready for battle. All right, so same thing on the other side, and same thing with the wrist. We've got the forward and backward, and full rotation on that. And both a semi-grip hand, not quite as much bone over here, but some of the little flare of underwater stuff going on, almost like he's got some barnacles or something. But I like the shoulder pads too. He definitely loves his bone applique. This has this sort of ball hinge at the lower rib cage. The waist feels like it wants to move, but it does not want to rotate. but that's okay. Legs, whoops. We obviously have a lot of lower apparel getting in the way, apparent apparel. So not a lot of split capability, and I'm trying to get the leg to stay together because we obviously have thigh rotation because that's how we assembled it. Hidden at the bottom of the shorts right here is where that seam is, but that is also where it attached. Double knee, so great, ready to limber up and maybe go to the surface world. And no calf rotation, but we do have the foot forward and back and ankle breaker. All right, and paint apps, nothing really stands out horribly in just looking at the guy, right? So this neck piece, fantastically done. It just looks very tough, very aggressive. It does look like, though, the blue maybe could or should travel all the way around. It definitely does not. It is only here. That may be intentional because we still also don't see it on the front. But if it was supposed to travel around, boo, because it doesn't. But you know what? I don't know for sure. Some of these straps here are molded on, and you can still see a little bit of flesh tone coming up even around the front of it. A lot of the other ones looking pretty good. I'd love the way the color of the bone pieces. It would have been neat if they were able to add some of this additional wash to it. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. The little bone / barnacle things on here, pretty good. Maybe another layer would have worked because the brown cast plastic's kind of showing through. Otherwise here, maybe that's intended for wear or what have you, or how it's built. But the blue is not 100% consistent on there. The rest of it, nothing really stands out. Some detail could have been brought out here with a little bit of paint. But yeah, all in all, pretty good. And these are flexible, but very attached at the front. So be very careful with those jaws, and then be careful with these, it looks like vertebrae sticking out. They are a flexible plastic, but they're so small, they don't flex so easily, so they could feel a little bit sharp. Everything else pretty flexible, fairly safe, not too bad. These wrist pieces, same thing. A little bit sharp, but everything else pretty good. So all in all, very cool Build-A-Figure, and seems like a solid one. Feels like it was meant to be a figure, and they just gave us the pieces to put together, which I like. I've seen some other Build-A-Figures in other lines where, oof, it's a rough experience. Flexibility is just not there, and they don't really want to stay together. Okay, let's see how old Attuma stands up. Will he stay standing long enough for me to say he can stand? I don't know. All right, there he goes. He is standing, at least for now. Seems like he's slowly leaning backwards. Let's see if we can get him focused in time. There we go. Now he's nice and focused. And that's it. That has been our line, and we'll be right back with some 360 views of these guys. Thanks. All right, here we go. Here's our 360 view of the whole crew standing together with the Black Panther in the middle, right? Because he's in the middle of it all, the center of everything. So all of them put together. Fantastic Build-A-Figure set, fantastic set for a fantastic movie release. So if you haven't checked out the movie, definitely do so. It's a great set. No issues. I highly recommend all, if not some of them. If there's some that stood out for you, go pick them up. And if you're here after all of that, this extremely lengthy video, thank you so much for staying. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy whichever one of these you pick up. Thanks. Well, that about does it. Thank you for checking us out and for joining on this collecting journey, as always. Look for new videos each week, if not more, and be sure to subscribe and click that like button. It would really help us out, and it would mean a lot to me. If you'd like to see some more videos, there are a couple of quick links on your screen right now for you to check out. But no matter what, thank you for taking the time, and remember, we are all in this world of collecting together. Let's look out for each other.